Hey, legends, welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Plenty going on this week. The Adelaide game thriller and the Goggle Snatcher. Yes, we talk about that. We've got the Swans and Gold Coast big wins over the weekend. Adam Simpson's feeling a bit of pressure. And we got Gary Rowan, the Terminator. Yes, we'll go into a little bit more. But before we go into all that, there's some exciting news. We have finally launched the merch. Yes, so many people have been in the DMs telling us, when's this happening? You keep teasing us. What's going on? It's finally happened. The Carlton draft. It's in our link. We're going to put it out there. It's absolutely epic. And the best thing about it, we're giving it to you at pretty much as cheap as we could. We are not really making anything from this. We just want to get as much gear out to the public as possible. So you got to check it out. It will not be cheaper than it is right now. And we're doing a special icon or logo just for you people that have been here since the beginning. The OGs, you get this special deal, and it's only for 2 weeks. So you got to check it out. It's out there for 2 weeks. Special price, special logo. It's amazing. Check it out. Go see it. I want to see someone wearing our gear. How cool would that be?
Special price for special people, mate.
Special price for special people. Love it. But without further ado, we'll get into the podcast starting now. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome, Brayden.
Oh, g'day, mate. You'll never guess what I was doing over the weekend. Unfortunately, I spent most of the weekend in a New South Wales police station giving evidence.
What?
Yeah, I was saving this for the podcast. Unfortunately.
Sorry. Huh?
Yeah, I was one of the witnesses to a murder over the weekend of Sydney against West Coast at the SCG. My God, they were crushed harder than the Titan, mate. I felt bad watching it, but it was like one of those car crashes that you couldn't look away. Anyway, I digress. Let's get into the clanger of the week. I had to go on there for a bit, didn't I?
Yeah, you reeled me in. Reeled me in. It was such a murder scene that they had to push back the Fremantle Essendon game by about 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, it was rough, mate. But we'll get into it. Let's jump into the clanger of the week. And this one, I don't know. I got to tiptoe a bit around this because it's a bit sensitive, but Gary Rowan, right?
Jeez.
Now, I know he didn't do it on purpose, but he's had a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been rough.
So, one, he takes out Paddy Dangerfield coming back for his first game, punctured lung, broken ribs, got to drive back from Adelaide. Rough, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy Cameron. We're not going to do Jezza Watch this week.
Yeah.
Numbers were a little low.
More prayers up for old Jezza this week.
Prayers up. If they were on opposite teams, this is cut and dry 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Well, he runs, elects to bump. If we were looking at it from like a MRO tribunal type of thing, turns his body, drops his shoulder, jumps off the ground, hits him right in the head, out like a light, goes to hospital. You know, they're all the
scary scenes, yeah.
Hallmarks of a lot of weeks on the sidelines. Unfortunately, it rattled Gaz a little bit, according to his coach, Chris Scott.
As it would. Knocking out a teammate and seeing him on the ground like that, it'd take a little bit of a mental toll on you. Yeah,
well, yeah, it was pretty gruesome, and he kind of stayed with him until the stretcher came out. He went on from that moment, and credit to him, to have an amazing game, really amazing game. Probably one of the best on, if not the best on. Kicked a few goals, was good getting out the back, used his speed. Now, if he could just tweak his game to stop killing teammates, he's like, they're, straight to the moon.
Yeah.
So maybe hold it back. Not a clanger in the way that it's like we normally give clangers, like you're an idiot, you're stuffed up. This is more like unfortunate set of circumstances.
He goes hard at the ball, and I respect that. And sometimes there's going to be a collateral damage in the fire line, and that's just unfortunately been back-to-back weeks for him.
Hey, we talked about your teammate and captain, heroic captain Darcy Moore, may flail a bit.
He flails a bit. Him and Nathan Murphy, they are 101. They are the people, if you're going to get injured from someone, those are the two you're looking at.
So there's just some blokes out there that, cause teammate on teammate injuries. Just reel it back in. You can do that. Mate, you're gold.
Guys, keep doing your thing, mate. It's just unfortunate for 2 weeks in a row.
Keep doing his thing.
We move on, Brayden. We move on. We're going to go to my clanger of the week, and not footy related whatsoever. Now, this really got to me, Brett.
We're going back to cricket because everyone was up in arms about you defending Ollie Robinson, the English player.
Well, yeah, it didn't work out for him, did it?
No, talk smack. Get the win, mate.
Talk smack got silenced, and they got the loss. But my clanger of the week is going to go to, it's a bit of a duel here, the Amex and Ticketek website. Why, may you ask? Taylor Swift tickets. I'm trying to get them. I'm trying to get into the queue. I think there's 4 times as many people trying to get tickets as there are out there, and I'm trying to be first in, best dressed. Unfortunately, couldn't do it because the website didn't effing work. So I'm sitting here for hours on end on my day off going, T Swift, it's going to happen. Finally going to see her live. Big MCG. It's going to be a hell of a night. Nope. They got to F up the stupid website, and now we're all missing out. Because you can't figure shit out. As if it wasn't going to be blowing up. Are you kidding me? It's Taylor fucking Swift.
This stuff seems to happen often with these ticket websites. Like maybe invest a bit of your money back into your website.
You got to realize there's going to be at least 1 million people coming on your website that day. At least.
To be fair, Amex probably doesn't have a lot of money to spare on their website, upgrade servers and stuff, skimp out on it. So it's a bit rough. Amex, if you want to come on as a sponsor,
we'll help you build your brand back up from this Taylor Swift.
Yeah, the PR disaster that is the Taylor Swift will help with the rebrand. Taylor Swift, I didn't know that you're a Swiftie.
Huge Swiftie. What's
your favorite? If you're in the car and you got to put on 3 songs back to back to back.
I'm going to go the Red album, but my favorite song is Karma.
Oh, I do like that one.
Karma's good, eh? Real good.
I feel like, don't come at me, Swifties.
Oh, they come at you. They come at you hard.
But a lot of her songs are kind of like in the same mold, and she does well to get it into your head, but a lot of similarities across the songs.
I'm going to cut you there before we get canceled. We're going to move on to the footy. We've got Geelong versus Melbourne. Now, Geelong GMHBA, the bit of the fortress. You best believe they held strong and got the W over the weekend.
Lucky we got that Collingwood game later in the weekend because I feel like with these bye periods, we only get the 1, maybe 2 good games for the weekend, and I thought this was like our one and done, this Geelong-Melbourne game. So lucky the Collingwood game came along. Unfortunately, Jez knocked out cold. He posted a little update on his farm, starting a bonfire. He's got a new cruise around Jeep that he bush bashes around the farm on. So he's back up and getting about. So we love to see that.
We love to see that.
Love to see Jez. We'll park the Jez watch for until
he's going to be out next week, obviously.
Until he returns, but I'm no doubt he'll be back. He's got some competition for the Coleman, which we'll get into soon. But how did you see this match panning out? Because it was quite close.
It was closer than the whole thing. I think it was the last 10 minutes. There was 5 goals by Geelong. They kind of took over the game and were able to finish it out there. Yeah. And like I said before, I think this GMHBA thing, like they play their ground so well. And it's a very, very tough ask. A lot skinnier ground than the MCG. And they've got a good game plan for how to get W's down there and down in Geelong. And it's a credit to them. I mean, you have Jessica down, you got Paddy Dangerfield's out. You have some big, experienced key players that have not been playing at the time. And
no
Joel, obviously retired. So that, that's tough to be playing while you're retired, Braden. So, it was a good win for probably a team that didn't have their most experienced players playing, and that's good signs for Geelong in the future. And we're going to go into who's going to make my top 8. And I reckon Geelong, they're making the cut.
So with all those guys out, I reckon their average age would have been right down to maybe like even 31 or 32. We had Tommy Stewart. Now, he got in a little bit of strife, which I thought was a bit over the top. Now, I don't know. The media and the fans, they don't like to overreact to much. They just call it as they see it, and it's straight down the line. We had Jack Viney who looked like he hurt his shoulder or his collarbone, and he was down. But it was in a contest with Tom Stewart, and then Tom Stewart pushes him down to the ground.
Cheeky.
My own personal opinion. I don't think that he knew that he was hurt.
No, I don't think so either.
That's what everyone was getting on him to be like, you're pushing an injured player, mate. Like,
it happens in the moment. It's tough to determine whether or not it's serious injury, all that kind of stuff, man. It's a move on. It's a move on.
We're giving the move on. And the GMHBA, this is what I wanted to ask you. How, Fortress, yes, but I don't like watching games from there because half the stadium's not built.
Yeah, it does look a bit shit.
It looks shit.
But it has to for them to be able to make it look better.
Yeah, well, maybe park it and take her up the road. They got this little stadium up in the Melbourne town called the MCG.
Oh, yeah?
You could just play there whenever you want. I thought Geelong, Melbourne at the MCG would have been a ripper.
It would have been. But the thing is, that's not home ground advantage. You know, it's a different ground size, everything else. And I said they play there. But it doesn't look great if you get a certain camera angle, and behind the goals, it just looks like a bit of a emptiness that should be filled. And it will get there, don't get me wrong, but like all these construction things in Australia, they take a little bit longer than probably expected. They have renovated, I think, the locker room and a few other things over there, and that is just first-class stuff there. You know, you got the Sydney Swans just redone theirs. Geelong has redone theirs recently. Like, there's some, they're finally getting into, I feel like, that professional capabilities with your facilities to do some amazing things. And the standards are lifting year by year whenever clubs like this, redo theirs and make it better. And then the next club's going, we're going to beat them. And then the next club goes, we're going to beat them. And it's looking like a schmick place down there. They just need to fill the gap, fill the gap.
Put up some tarps or something. But I feel like the guy, they always cut to the bloke that's been asked to stay back, the construction worker. I don't even know if he's a construction worker. He might just be a Geelong fan with mates that work on the construction. It's like, mate, best job ever. Throw the ball back. Wonder he'd be getting some good coin for that, I reckon. I'll
tell you a funny story. Back in college, my brother did this, right? So this was me, but like they were renovating the football stadium. And I'm not saying anyone should do this. Have to put that out there for legal reasons. Do not do this. But I'll tell you a story. They're redoing the football stadium. This is like hollow ground at college, right? At university. And there's only like a few, fences you might have to happenstance to get through, right? To jump over. And they jumped over 2 or 3 and they played like a flag football game in the middle of the stadium and no one even knew. And it was like middle of the night. And they played a flag football game with I think it was like a light up football or something like that. And he said it was like an epic scenario. And then they bounced and it was like no one ever knew it happened. So not saying like hypothetically you could do that at GMHBA, but if it was an opportunity and you weren't going to get in trouble, I think it'd be a great experience.
Let's move on, mate, because we've got someone post game.
Huge.
That wanted to join the Goggle gang.
Gave it a try.
Reece Stanley. He said that he was having some eye issues.
Yeah.
As we all do.
Yep.
And he tried the Mason Cox goggles. He quoted Mason Cox goggles.
Glad to know they're branded by yours truly.
Yeah, you got to start getting some cheddar for that. But it started to make me think of like, these guys are going to be wanting to get into the Goggle gang. Now, obviously, Brodie Grundy wears contacts because he couldn't see people's faces. Who were we talking about? There was someone last week, plays for Richmond, that had eye issues.
Noah Bolter.
Noah Bolter. Can't see.
Rory Sloan had eye issues too.
Rory Sloan. It's like, so there's a lot of blokes out there that can't see a lot.
I think a few of them have heard about the initiation to the Goggle gang and they're a bit, as you would be, you're a bit nervous.
Oh, it's extensive.
It's very extensive.
So I feel like we're going to have to make public the key criteria to join the Goggle gang. And we'll put it out there. Obviously, number one, at the top of the list.
Your eyes have to be fucked.
Got to have fuck eyes. So I don't know.
Below 20/20 vision.
Maybe we can do the AFL's best 22 blind players.
Gosh.
I like this. There's got to be a coach out there that needs glasses.
There's plenty of them. There's plenty of them.
There'd be plenty of them.
All right, let's move into the next one. St. Kilda versus Brisbane. This is Spud's game. The game for mental health. Great initiative they're doing over there. And they had the game within the game of some of the celebrities that came down and played. And pretty awesome to see these kind of, initiatives happen throughout footy. We talk about Freeze Him and D round. We talk about the Rewalt Vision round. We talk about this now. It's incredible to see kind of the, impact you can have by creating these things through initiatives and raise some, very important money for a great cause.
And they do it so well every year. Come out, form the circle in the middle of the ground and have some speeches and relate it back to Spud. And it's great. But it's the difference that this will make, even if everyone always says it, but even if you touch one life, it's a massive outcome, but it'll make a massive difference.
I'll tell you one of my favorite Spud stories, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going on Fox Footy and Spud's there and we're doing some kind of promo thing before I go on to I think it was the bounce, right? And I'm on the stairs and he's like, oh yeah, we'll do like a little, social clip of like you marking the ball and, I'll, punch it out of your hands. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever, And I'm sitting on there and I kid you not, Spud I'm sitting there and they throw the ball up. I go to mark it and Spud just clips my ears, just full over the back of the head, punches the ball. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? He's like, oh, mate, can't take a bit of contact.
Ear massage.
He ear massaged the shit out of me. And I was like, it kind of shocked me. I didn't know what to expect. But I was like, well, the golden fist, there's a reason he was giving it out. So
yeah, he's the best to do it. Let's jump into the game because Rossi, our boy, a bit under the weather. Had a bit of a flu going on, so he's got to sort that out. Didn't do any pre-match interviews or anything, just sat up in the box, ready to go.
I love that too.
Yeah. It's a good excuse for anyone in today's day and age. I got a bit of the sniffles. But it was a big win, away win for Brisbane Lions to come down here and do what they do after it's not the MCG, right? We'll get that one out of the way. It's not the MCG, it's Marvel Stadium, which they do have a pretty good record at Marvel Stadium.
We did chat around this week about their record at Marvel Stadium compared to the MCG. Now, into the statistics of it, one win in the past 14 games at the MCG, but at the Marvel Stadium, won 7 of the last 8. Yeah. So you could say there's a fair difference between the two experiences.
Yeah, and I heard this stat reeled out over the weekend. I've got, I think, 2 different opinions on it, right? So this would have to be over the last couple of years. So the difference between teams that play at those stadiums. So you got like North Melbourne, haven't had, a stellar couple of years. You got like, it would be like Saints and Essendon and those teams that are kind of thereabouts.
Their home grounds, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't feel like you can really read into it too much. And then the difference between how many times they play there, where I think this year they play at Marvel like 4 times and it's like 1 time at the MCG. So it's like, how do you get form anywhere if you're only playing there 1 time?
It's kind of like whenever we played Adelaide. I think it was like the second time in like 2 years. And the other time they played us the last time they played the MCG was against us like 2 years ago.
Yeah, see, and if you lose like your one game that you play there every 10 years, like imagine if you went down and played in Tassie and then they could reel out the stat like, oh, a shocking record at Tassie, never win there. You've lost 100% of your games there. It's like, yeah, but we played once there back in like 1996, mate. Like, so yeah, I feel like they pluck out these stats to make it sound better. Fags was like, if we don't talk about it, it's not a thing. I think that's a great strategy. He's like, oh, if people keep bringing up the MCG thing, it'll be a thing. But if we don't talk about it.
You know, also helps that? Winning at the MCG. Well, in this game, Hipwood kicked 4. He's kicked 10 in the last 3. We love a big man kicking snags.
Especially because the partnership that he's up there with Danaher and Cameron. So he's a bit of third fiddle. And I wouldn't
say third fiddle. They have to split all the goals between the 3 of them.
Well, that's what I mean. Now he's just well and truly out there in front, just being the big man.
Smashing it, man. It's good to see the big man, the big jukes out and kicking some snags. Another one person that's been going really well, Harris Andrews, big defensive man, captain of the club. It's good to see him just absolutely dominate. He's one of the best defenders in the league. At
the start of the year when Robbo put out his 22 and you critiqued it, you said Harris Andrews needs to be in there.
Yep.
Give the defenders some love. So you're happy with his progress to this point in the season?
Yeah, of course. Harris Andrews, like I say, I think he's one of the best defenders I've played against that's in the league at the moment. So it's a credit to him. He's a really good lockdown defender, comes across well. He's, can be, dominating in the air and really lock down that back line. His leadership's massive for him. So he's very important to that squad.
Does take a good mock. He annoys me a little when it hits the ground and he's just a bit laconic, just a bit chillaxed about the whole thing. I like the urgency. Get the urgency about you, but we know you like your calming voice down back. So he must be that calming voice. One thing that I pulled out of this, and I want to address it here on the podcast.
Have a crack.
An exclusive. No, I copped the team song, the Brisbane team song, which I think is like the French national anthem or something about France or something. But at the very end, where they do like, you'll hear the mighty roar, and then they go, woo.
Yeah.
Why don't they roar? It just makes the most sense. If you said, you'll hear the mighty roar, rah, it's stupid. It's the dumbest thing. Think about it for a second and then fix it because it's dumb.
It is a good way to do it. Maybe they're going to catch on to this, Braden. Maybe this is going to be a thing. It's either the mighty roar or you just go, meow.
Yeah. Woo. I thought it was stupid. So I'm just saying maybe tweak that.
Bit of feedback from Braden on the winning song. Huge. Well, another thing that came out here, Stalker was reported for a dangerous tackle. We can't go into these things because the AFL will fine us. So just a little heads up, everyone. So we'll move on to the next game. Swans, West Coast. Holy shit. I don't even know how to get into this. This is absurd. You feel bad.
Well, it's real hard to say this player played well, that player played well, because about 22 of Sydney's players kicked 4 goals or more. It was a massacre, and no Buddy. Buddy would have been sitting on the sidelines itching. Furious. Because he would have probably gone up to second on the all-time goal kicking list if he had a play.
He would have been leading the Coleman, I reckon.
Well, they would have done a bit of, Buddy's paddock, just clear it out, and he gets the whole 50 to himself. But it wasn't to be, but it didn't matter because they had Isaac Heaney, who kicked them in a burst, I reckon. But Isaac Heaney, 5 goals, 4, could have had a real day, but he still got the bag. The bag by today's standards. Isaac Heaney.
Hennessy. Yeah, that was, you said that was kind of pushing it there with that one. But yes, that's going to be my go for old Isaac Heaney.
Have you seen many 200 scores in your time in Australia?
I've never seen a 200 score. This is the first time. And I kind of, whenever I looked at it, I was like, holy, I didn't know, like what happened? I was kind of those moments. And 200 points is insane. Like, I think it was like the biggest loss for West Coast in the history of their club. I think it was something around like the 5th, or don't quote me on this, but it was like one of the largest like margins anyone's ever won from in AFL history.
It was up there.
It was rough.
Now we got to drill down a little bit into this because obviously immense heat comes onto their coach, Adam Simpson. Which, if you unpack it and give it a little bit of context, surely like the injuries kind of decimated the team. And then you've got a team like made up of like a hodgepodge of like guys they picked up in the mid-season draft. You got some veterans that are like left over that have seen success and now they're coming back down to getting flogged every week by like 100 points. And then you got some guys coming through that are draftees and all of that stuff. Can we judge anything off like the team that they're fielding? Like, is the pressure justly on Adam Simpson? Does he need to figure something out? Like, how do we assess what's going on?
I mean, this is the way the media works, and it's a cyclical thing, right? So if there's someone that's underperforming, who's the first person we go chopping heads at? It's the head coach. Now, it's been frustrating for me to see, I guess, a lot of this criticism towards him because there's no one in this world that would be able to really turn this team into, being able to win some of these games because they just haven't had the people on the park. They've been just like, their team has been decimated. So to put that kind of pressure on a head coach whenever it's almost out of his hands, it's frustrating to see, but I know this is how the media works. I know this is a very easy thing in the way they're going to take it after, West Coast is a proud club. They want to see W's on the board. And if they don't see that, they're going to get angry and they're going to start lynching people and trying to figure out who's going to be the person to get fired and all this kind of stuff. And it's always the head coach is the first person they look to. But I just can't see it being really his fault, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's just the fact that there's been so many injuries. It's impossible to purely blame him and say, he's the reason that they're not going well. It's like, it's a situation that's been taken out of his hands. So
you've got a coach that can win a premiership because he's done it.
Yeah.
If you asked everyone, would you sell the farm to have one crack at a flag and potentially see some more down years, but you have a flag, would you go for it? Most people, I would argue, would say yes.
Yeah.
So if you say yes to that, then are you going, okay, well, there's inevitably going to be a big down period after that.
Yeah.
Your coach that got you to that success, does he deserve a chance to have a crack at that down period and up? Because most people assume by that point, they're exhausted, they're done, they've got no inspiration, they've got no way of getting them out of this hole. Let's replace him and have this circuit breaker that everyone talks about. One, who are you going to get in to replace that? That is a premiership credentialed coach that can do it. Most of the time it's off speculation.
Yeah.
Now it's worked with someone like Fly because that's speculation. But most of the time it's like, who are you going to get in to fill that void? It could be catastrophically bad coming out of that. Yeah. And then you could be stuck in a 10-year hole. There's so many things that you can think about, but I feel like the easy thing is for everyone to say, sack the coach.
Yeah.
But it's weird when he wants to be there, that he can win a flag and people are still saying sack the coach. But I feel like this is going to be their reality for a bit because they're going to have a whole bunch of these old premiership like favorites finish up and retire, and they're going to be left with these kids. They're going to have draft picks, and they're really going to have to start again. So then they're going to have to ask the question: do they start again with their tried and tested and passionate coach Adam Simpson, or do they try their luck and try find someone else?
My hope is that he sees out the year, he gets another opportunity to coach next year. and they have a decent run of, positive injuries or no injuries, let's say, and then you judge them based off that. And then, and then you make a decision there. Because I just think with injuries, man, we've had this at Collingwood. We had a year where it was injury after injury after injury, and you're barely fielding a team out there on the park. And that takes away so much of your capacity to win games whenever you can't field a team. They have 2 people, I think, in the waffle at the moment. That's the only, they have 5 players that are healthy, and that's it. And it's you're sitting there going, mid-season draft, that guy's probably going to play within a week or 2, and he's just literally walked into the club. He doesn't even know how you play. And he's already pretty much going to get picked. It's insane to think that, but that's the situation they're in. So to sit there and judge someone based off that, I can't fathom that would be the correct way of going about the circumstance.
It can work positively too. I feel like Clarkson probably didn't want to leave Hawthorn, and that kind of went down pretty messy in the end. But I feel like both teams came out of that with a positive outcome. Hawthorn have showed really positive signs with Sam Mitchell, and North have shown really positive signs with Clarko and, some caretaker coaches. So there is some upside to be had there. Now, this was something that was brought up throughout the week, that it's maybe the game plan, because you're just bringing in guys from mid-season draft. You got kids coming through, and then you got the seniors. Maybe the game plan is just unachievable at this point in time with the guys that you have to send out there. Is it worth just going no game plan, or let's play on instinct, or just setting them one goal for the week? How would you kind of go about it?
Oh, from a guy that's got pretty much zero experience coaching. No, it's...
But from a player's point of view, you would know if the coach said...
The baby out of the bathwater, right? Yeah. I don't think you just start from scratch. That's crazy, because most of the people that are playing in that game or in that team, we're going through the preseason of learning this, style of play and all that kind of stuff, no matter what their age is, right? So most people are on this game plan. Whether you tweak a few things and say, look, we're just going to play forward footy now, and if we get a chance to kick it forward, we're going to take territory. We're just going to lock it in as long as we can to try to give us the best chance of scoring and keep them from being in our half, right? Maybe it's something like that. I'm not really sure. And you just take the gamble to say, look, we're going to back in contests going forward. Or maybe you say, you know what, we're going to take a bit of the sting out of the game. We're going to switch the ball a lot. We're going to do a lot of uncontested marks, whatever it might be. But you do have to have a guidance if you are going to change things. You have to have a guidance that overarches everything, right? It's a style of play that overarches
a core
things.
Plan.
Yeah, a core plan where everyone's on the same page of how you want to play. Yes, you can tweak a few things here and there, but you need to have a style of play that everyone can revert back to know that is your DNA for the week.
Coach Cox, I like it. We'll go.
Coach Cox.
So let's jump into the next game. Freo Essendon. I feel like this was the most we don't get many predictable games, especially not this year, but Freo v Essendon going across to Perth to versus Fremantle, and I feel like it turned out the way that it should have. Yep. Now, Freo should have done that to Richmond a couple of weeks ago, and they wouldn't be in a little bit of a hole. But now they've dug themselves out a little bit with this win over Essendon. Comfortable win in the end. 28 points. Luke Jackson back to form, kicking 3 goals. Mm-hmm. It helps when they've got a ruckman and he can push forward.
Sean Darcy's back, baby. Very important for their team, and him coming back kind of settled them, I think. And another person I want to shout out, Fifey. Big fan of Fifey being back. Every week I'm going to shout this guy out.
You do shout him out every week. He is
such a... Oh, dude, I love watching him play. He's one of my favorite players to watch play. Just goes hard at it, and he's clean. Oh, it's so good to watch.
Well, it was good to see Walters up and about. He's started to play some really good footy and get back into consistent form
really well.
After signing a 2-year deal. So it's great to see him out there, and they're two kind of the future stars, they're current stars, but future superstars, Sarong and Brayshaw,
future leaders of of that team.
They're taking over now. So, it was good to see. I think both of them got mid-30s, and
just another day out for them.
So it was a good game, but if not predictable. Now Gold Coast. Hawthorn. This was the win that Gold Coast needed to have. And it was a little disappointing for Hawthorn, who'd strung together a bit of good form, but Gold Coast doing it pretty comprehensively.
Yeah, they got the W up there, and it's not called Metricon anymore, whatever it is. We'll be there next week. But yeah, I think it was it was tough for Hawthorn. I was like, oh man, we've been mentioning this every single week. Ever since the Tassie news came out, they were like, we're showing up. We're going to make sure that we're staying in this thing. So Gold Coast is just too good at the end of the day. They've been playing some really decent football, so it's going to be a great challenge for us coming up against them this week up there at their home ground. And Gold Coast keeps their finals alive. They're right on the edge, that 8. They're right in there. And I think, I'm just going to say it. They make them on top 8, Braden.
We've already locked them in previous weeks, so they're a lock. So you've got 3 other slots to fill of that bottom 4 of the top 8, but we'll get to that. Bailey Humphrey. Yep. Now, I don't know if you saw this incident, but he had a snap out of congestion and it went through for a goal, and they were, before they could even start to signal that they were going upstairs to the big guy, Bailey Humphrey was, a bit of honesty policy. He was like, nah, he touched it.
What a nice guy.
I couldn't for the life of me seeing you do that.
No fucking chance. Are you kidding me? I'd be celebrating. I'd be like, no, I didn't touch it. Nah. Because sometimes, there's no sound or anything else as far as touching the football. There's no, spike on the arc or whatever it is. So you might be able to get away with it, if they didn't get the right angle or whatever it may be. You want to make sure you're celebrating. Ask Tom Lynch whenever it came to that final where he didn't celebrate the snap. And they said, well, we took in his reaction to, whether or not it was a goal. You have to celebrate everything, even if it's a question mark.
So let's jump into the absolute game of the round. Collingwood, Adelaide. I don't know if you had a chance to see this one, but it was an absolute nail-biter. Adelaide, got to say this off the top. Adelaide played exceptionally well.
We've been talking about it for a long time. Adelaide is a top 8 team who they're 8 at the moment, but I'm telling you, they are going to put anyone to the sword.
See, and a lot of people, you cop heat on the stats sheet and it says Adelaide loses at the MCG. Mm-hmm. This is very competitive. And to come over and compete against a team that's top of the ladder, go down by 2 points. See that? There's no context in those stats. So they're a bloody good team. And we got to see that firsthand in the third quarter where they just blew you out of the water. Did you guys come out of the rooms after halftime, or what happened?
I think after halftime we came out and they go, this was said, we goes, they're going to come at us and they're going to come at us hard. And you best fucking believe they did.
They came all over you.
Red hot crack. It was wild, man. I was sitting there looking, I was like, we have to somehow stem this flow. And they blew us out in the third quarter. And luckily enough, the fourth quarter rolls around. We kind of, reeled in a bit, get a few scores on the board, and we're able to kind of pip them for the win.
It was one of those quarters for them that it was like nothing could go wrong. Like their forwards were relatively quiet in the first half, and then, they just came alive.
Just starts kicking from everywhere.
So Tex now leads the Coleman off the back of it, and they were just clunking them and kicking dead straight. They got really good. Fogarty, whichever one. He's just a dead straight kick. Obviously, Tex dead straight kick, and then they got very dangerous small forward. So they're going to be
they're a good team. I've got lots of respect for them, and every time we play them, they've taken us to the line, and they're a team that if you don't respect them, they'll get you.
So now we've got all of that praise out of the way. They must freaking hate you guys.
There wasn't too many smiles after the game from them, as you would expect.
It's like, leave them alone, but it's like, what? It was, I feel like you beat them by 2 points, 5 points, 2 points, or 1 point, 5 points, 2 points. It's all of them have been well within a kick, which is, oh man. And there've been a couple of comeback from behinds, and it's just, but you did kind of kick it all off. Now I know you don't like praise, you don't like attention, you don't like all of that stuff, but you did kick 2 pretty pivotal goals. One just fell right into your arms.
Yep. I like to think it's a bit of body work, Braden, but yes, one was a chesty.
Surely that goes down contested mark. Bang. But it was like a little baby.
Just coddled that thing in,
So you went back and you kicked that goal, and we're back to the point, which I feel like that's your thing now.
Oh, we got to figure it out. We need a fan vote. We need a fan vote for what's their favorite celebration. We need to figure it out.
Well, maybe like goggles or something. Oh, but you're wearing goggles.
I never did like the
telescopic cocks. Bring it back.
Bring it back.
And then not too long after that, you got a free kick for holding. Yep. And then you went back, slotted your second goal, very important.
Yeah.
And then talk us through what happened next. You started a fight.
Oh, it was a scuffle more than anything. Braden, Yeah, no. So, geez, this is really reminiscent of round one versus Rutherglen. You kick the goal, right? And as you do, the game needed a bit of energy.
It genuinely needed spark.
Bit flat, the MCG, after Adelaide came back and was steamrolling us through that third quarter. So after I kicked the goal, I essentially do this shirt front, as you do, you give him a little classic bump. Hey, how you going? And as soon as I did that, he grabbed my jumper. And then as soon as that happened, it was on for young and old. You best believe it. And as soon as that, I thought, where's the wild Braden Maynard?
Yeah, I was waiting for him to pop up. It's a long way down from the defense. It was
a long way from defense, but you will realize, and whenever you watch the vision again, luckily, there was the wild Taylor Adams.
Nice.
Oh, you best believe he's just as good. He gets in there, he goes, boys, I'm on here. Let's get at it. He was playing forward during the game, so he was right in the thick of it, just having a go. Great person to back you up, Ted.
And then what happened? So you had 4 or 5 blokes hanging off you. You're throwing jumper punches.
I think my jumper's getting pulled from 4 different directions, front, back, side, and side.
What happened to your goggles?
The goggles are actually detachable in the back, right? The strap can come off.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I just feel this pressure, and it's like it's flung, like it's a discus. It's like flung out into the open. And at this point, I'm too busy getting into the scuffle to really know what's going on. But you look at it afterwards, and old Keys wanted to be part of the Goggle gang, so he done piffed him.
You can't blame him. Everyone wants to be part of the Goggle gang.
It's a very, very unique club, and it's like I said, there's a lot of initiation to get in there, Keys. So if you want to, you're going to have to do better than that.
4 blokes you're seeing start double vision, you're fighting 8 blokes. What's going through your head when you got no eye protection on?
Don't get scraped in the eye is probably the first thing that's going through my head. But the biggest thing whenever you get in those fights or scuffles, as you would call them, is not going to ground. As a big man, you don't want to go to ground. So I've got like 4 guys ripping for front, back, side, and side, like I was saying. And eventually we did, and then we get on the ground. I wouldn't let go of his jumper. That was the biggest thing. And I get back up and I'm looking around and I'm like, where did these things go? And he didn't just drop them on the floor. He full flung them like it was a Frisbee throw. And it was like out by the 50. Like I was looking around like, Velma from, Scooby-Doo going like, where is these things at? And even the trainer couldn't find him. Then finally we walked over. I said, oh shit, he's piffed him out that way.
I think there's a photo of Lipper giving you back the goggles.
Oh, the legend. He just comes over and says, I think you dropped these. And he hands it back. He's a nice guy ever. But yeah, it was piffed, and I reckon he'll probably get a fine from the AFL.
Yeah, is that what we're feeling? Because I was thinking it's like protective, equipment. You need these things. It's like throwing away, if someone was to get a bunch of concussions and they start wearing a helmet, it's like ripping their helmet off and throwing it across the field. Like, I don't know. It tore the public. Because there's obviously you got a lot of admirers out there on social media.
Twitter went off.
It was very split what type of act this was. But I guess we wait and see. But the AFL definitely needs to pay for their Christmas party. So you could step on a stick out there and they give you a fine.
Gill's going away. Ain't going to pay for itself, Braden. I'll tell you that.
Well, it was a very big tick for the durability of your goggles because they were straight back on, straight back into the ruck. So that was good to see. Now, one of your teammates. Speak of mid-season pick, Nobes.
John Noble.
Massive efforts when the game was right on the line, like under a minute left in it.
Yeah.
And he's streaming out on the wing, first to get the ball in the first place and get it up the ground. And then when it got turned over and it was coming back in, to leave his man sprint forward and just land a tackle on the wing. And most importantly, not to let the ball get out or the handball because they had runners streaming forward. Now, your coach, Fly, was saying post-match, like, he just kept cutting everyone off, the questions, and they were like, did you see Nobes' tackle on the wing? He did it about 3 different occasions. Was like, let me just bring it back to Nobes' tackle on the wing. Where were you? Did you see this all unfold? Or was it like, thank God someone stopped that whole thing?
It was, you could see it kind of unfolding from Adelaide's side of like, if they get past that tackle, they have like 2 players streaming forward, handball receives and stuff. You probably get easy inside 50. But Noble, I guess, like, he, like you said, he came off his man, almost like suicide squeezed to land that tackle, to keep the ball in, to create another stoppage for us to set up behind the ball and get numbers behind it. So little thing like that, just being able to keep that ball in actually leads to maybe us winning that game. And John Noble, I don't know if you know this, last time we played him, also kicked the game-winning snag. So there's one thing Adelaide probably hates about our team. It's John Noble. Yeah. That man has a decent little track record against him. There was 2 incidents where he laid tackles. And, I think in those dire moments and everything else, we talk about the team we want to be. We talk about the team that, the DNA that we show that, describes our team the best. It's those moments under the pump, fourth quarter, games on the line, and you're fighting and scrapping for everything, trying to make sure you give us the best possible scenario going forward. And John Noble did that, and it's a credit to him. I'm sure he'll get a lot of praise this week whenever it comes to the meetings. And, that's what we value about his game so much. He's an absolute competitor.
Oh, and you've got so many of them. I reckon there needs to be a sprinkling of those mid-season picks and rookie picks throughout a team just to give it that grunt, because they work harder than anyone, I reckon, those blokes. You did win the game, but right at the death. Now, I'm not sure how much you can talk about this, but the Adelaide Crows skipper, Jordan Dawson.
Great player.
An amazing game. Yeah. What an absolute game. Almost single-handedly dragged them across the line. He copped a high from Jamie Elliott, and the AFL's come off and said, yeah, should have been a high, but the umpire didn't have a clear view of the incident. So, got a lucky one there. Did you see the incident?
No, I didn't see it.
Maybe the goggles. The goggles are a bit damaged.
That's of course. Yep, and that's unfortunate that I didn't see that.
But the Pies have won 11 of 15 when trailing at 3/4 time. Doesn't that just blow your mind?
It's a pretty good little statistic, isn't it? I'd love for us not to have to get to 3/4 time and not do this whole stressful comeback gray hairs type scenario. But a win's a win at the end of the day, so I'm happy. It is just we sometimes stress our fans out and stress, myself, the players, the coaching staff, everyone. But in this scenario, right? So you think of fourth quarter games, and I said this to someone. I said, whenever we got to the end of that game, I never felt stressed. It was a weird thing, but we had been in this scenario so many times. We talk about this over and over again of handling the moment and managing the minutes, right? So whenever it comes to the end of the game and we're down by whatever it is and we know we need to lock it down, we talk about the very end of the game, through the midfield, we were able to get stoppage after stoppage after stoppage just to run the clock down to be able to make sure that they didn't have a chance to be able to bounce on us. And we've just been in that situation so much. We have so much confidence with it. I just don't think we stress about it. We just go, yep, cool. We know exactly where we're going to need to be at certain times and what position we need to play and who needs to go behind the ball and what position needs to fill that spot and everything else. That it's almost second nature now.
In those circumstances, when you are going rolling stoppages, who are the calm voices? Who do you hear above the crowd? 65,000 out there going off their nut. Who can you hear?
It's probably a lot of it's a bit of everyone, to be honest. But I think the old heads, of Pendles and Darcy and some of the more experienced players, Howe and all that kind of stuff, really probably take ownership in it. But there's the guys like Tom Mitchell, who's a first year playing with us. He takes ownership too, and he jumps in and knows exactly what he should be doing and when. And it's a credit to everyone that's bought into the game plan. And like I said, it's not just one or two players telling everyone what to do. It's one or two players looking around going, yeah, we're pretty well set up. Oh, just make sure you cover that angle, wherever it is, make sure you're on that guy on this shoulder or wherever it may be. And it's not like we're sitting there having to tell them in the moment of the game exactly what to do. It's more of just oh, yep, cool, tick, you're good. Yep, I'm good. Yep, you good. Yep, I'm good. And everyone's on the same page.
Now, we talk about the end of the game and in the trenches, so to speak, 3/4 time. Talk us through what was going on at the huddle. Is it more of you've been in that situation, 15, you won 11 of your last 15. Is Fly just going, boys, what to do? Get out there? Or is it a bit of urgency or what's going on?
Look, I pay attention to Fly's quarter time addresses, right?
I feel like no players listen to these coaches' addresses.
I'm always out the back, so sometimes it's hard to hear, right? I know the gist of it, right? By what was written on the board. Right, so he writes certain things on the board. He talks about moving back, whatever it is, right? And the gist of it was to get the ball forward and be able to try to hold territory and just give us as much opportunity as we could in the forward half because we needed to kick goals, right? That was the gist of it. So we have a certain game plan we go into and stuff like that, which was on the board that you can understand. So, it was just let's play forward footy, and you have to in that scenario. You're down, you want to win the game, you need to kick goals, so you need to get territory, you need to be able to get the ball inside 50 to be able to do that. So that was kind of the 3/4 time address, and a lot of the times whenever we start playing aggressive football and wanting the ball forward, that suits our game plan. We go well. So it's kind of a unique thing to to almost want to always be in that kind of mode of like aggression and wanting to like be really aggressive with your ball movement without, I guess pulling back and saying like, okay, we're being too aggressive. There's almost like no such thing as too aggressive for us, which is, I don't know if it's a bit of, all or nothing, but
you live in the chaos.
Yeah, we live in the chaos and we enjoy it. We like thrive in it. So maybe it's just something that, we look at and we go, you know what, like we're just going to constantly play just go football.
Now we talk about leadership. I know Darcy Moore pre-game or halftime was doing the huddle, had the boys around. Is that all amp up? Is there a point of amping you boys up, or is it calming you down, or is it, what is it?
He kind of reviews the game plan, amps us up a bit. It does rotate around though, so it's not always Darcy that speaks in those kind of circles. So Tay Adams, I think over the weekend jumped in. I can't remember if it was 3/4 time or halftime. He jumped in and, he said his say. So there's other players that kind of jump in there and, are able to have their say. So then the leadership is spread over, the whole group rather than just relying on one person to be able to, I guess, tell the game plan to everyone else and make sure we're on the same page, which I think is great because then you get players from different lines. You get players that, play different positions, and it's not just reliant on one person to make sure we all know what we're doing. We can spread that load across the team.
Have they ever pointed at the big Mace and said, Mace, final words?
The day that happens,
Aussie. What do you roll out? I don't know. You'll have to just have a plan because it'll come one day. Your moment will come.
Darcy will look at me and go, Mason, any final words? I'll go, yeah, boys, just kick it through the big sticks.
Through the big ones of 6. Just learnt that. Now, before we wrap it up, friend of the podcast, Jeremy Howe, made his return. Looking pimped out in that sleeve.
Allen Iverson, love it. Steph Curry, how good.
How good was it to see him back, and what influence did he have back there?
Yeah, it's good, man. He's one of the leaders of the team, so his influence back there and his aerial presence was something we definitely missed, and it's good to see him doing his thing back out there. And we've had him on the podcast. If you haven't listened to the podcast, have a look. It was a great chat around what he had to go through to be able to get back on the ground and be able to play again, and some of the darker and tougher times that he had to go through. And I don't think people realize just how serious the injury was. Like obviously the bone breakage and all that kind of stuff that happened, but his hospital stay and the infections that happened and, him debating whether or not he's still going to play football and wanting to quit and all this kind of stuff came through his mind. And it was a great kind of podcast around, I guess, being able to fight through those darker moments and fight through the adversity to be able to get to where he's at over the weekend. And I'm sure him and his family and, it was great after the game. They had the photos of him and his little kiddo out there, and just the smile on his face is just massive, and it just meant so much. I'm sure to be able to get back to that point, to be able to play AFL football, and it's a credit to his resilience more than anything. And he's a phenomenal person, one of the most positive, genuine humans you'll ever meet. And it was great to see him back out there enjoying his football.
Ripping bloke, and I think we should see the sleeve stick around even long into the future.
He did have to get it ticked off by the AFL.
Imagine if someone ripped it off and threw it on the ground. That'd be a real dick move. But it's been a good couple of weeks for the Carlton Football Club. No loss again this week. And North, Port, Richmond, Bulldogs and Giants were the other teams having the bye this week. Before we wrap things up, we've been teasing this all podcast. You've said every team in the league is going to make the top 8. Now, unfortunately, there's not enough slots. So I want to put it on you. Let's say that the top 4, that's a lock.
Yeah.
So I want your teams that are going to finish 5th through 8th. Gold Coast already being a lock for one of your spots.
It has to be just 8 teams? Is that how it works?
Has to be 8.
I feel like I've gone to the top 14 at times. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I think like 5 through 8, not in order. And this, like I said, this is not disrespectful towards any team. This is just what I'm thinking at the time, given the way teams are playing.
Get to it, mate.
Okay. Gold Coast.
Lock.
Geelong. Lock.
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
Fremantle. Lock.
Up Longy. Come on, mate.
And the last one, Adelaide. I think Adelaide will almost be 5. That might be a big call for some people, but I reckon they're going to go up the ranks a little bit and get a bit of steam going into finals. They'll be a very hard team to beat.
So you've got Essendon and St Kilda dropping way off. They're currently way off.
I think they'll be right on the edge. I reckon towards the end of the year, there's going to be like a game where it's going to have to be like a win or go home game for one of those teams.
It's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be exciting because it's really close. That kind of like 6 to 10 kind of range or 12. those teams are a game or two off each other. So, we still have, like 10 more games or something like that to play. So it's going to be a tight finish.
It's the grand final rematch this weekend. Both teams are currently sitting outside of the 8. Pretty crazy. So, yeah, well, now we've got something to hold you accountable to. We've got something that we can lock in. So
only 8, Mason.
Only 8.
Only 8. We did say this at the beginning of the podcast, and we'll say it at the end. The merch. The merch has dropped, and people, we are just doing this bare bones as far as pricing. We're not taking any kind of cuts or anything. We just want to get the merch to y'all because you're OGs, the people that have got us to where we are today. So if there's any time to get it, it is these next 2 weeks that we're doing this kind of this type of merchandise that has the crown on it. Very unique. We're going to go to a different symbol after that. But
limited edition.
They'll
never be back.
Edition, only 2 weeks, and we're doing it at a discount, like the most discounted we can discount it, because we just want y'all to get our gear and just be able to rep it, because we have so many messages of people, when you're going to do this? You keep teasing this thing. It's done. It's out there. It's on the website. You can buy it now, and it is a great cost. That's not going to be like that forever. So get out there, get it, rep the merch, appreciate the love. And it's finally happened.
So check it out. Link in the bio.
Yes, the Carlton Draft, the old legends over there. They've
Load
got some
up.
good gear.
That's what, OGs. We can't thank you enough, but this is our little way of saying thanks, because it has been one hell of a ride to this point, and I feel like July, August, September is going to be pretty massive as well. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how the year pans out. We know.
I just can't wait till I see the first person wearing our merch out in public. That's going to be a real humbling moment, like real cool. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I hope whoever it is that's out there listening to this, that's wears the merch to a training session, wherever it may be, or at a game. Hey, mad love.
You're getting a photo with Mace.
For sure.
You can't turn them down. Roll up in the OG kit.
Merch. If you're getting the OG merch, you're getting the photo.
Love it. All right, that's it. Surely
that's it. No? Yeah, that's it. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening. Absolute legends. Like I said, check out the merch. Go buy it. Buy it for your friends, family, brothers, sisters, whatever it might be. And thank you so much for the love over socials and everything else. Y'all are amazing, amazing community. And we continue to grow this thing. And we are so thankful for everything you've done to get us to this point and launch us to the moon going forward. So thanks, everyone, so much. I appreciate you. And check out Abby Holmes later this week. Huge podcast drop. That's the last part I forgot to say. Absolute legend. We went into her commentating. We went into her love for the NT, maybe some barramundi she's caught over the years.
She gave us some dating advice.
She did give us some dating advice, which is in there. So you best believe that's going to be a great episode. I can't wait for that to go out. That's going to be real fun. She's an absolute legend, good friend of mine, and someone who's breaking all kind of barriers for females in sport. It's awesome to see. Shazza. You'll understand that if you listen to the app. All right, y'all. Enjoy the rest of the day. We'll speak to you soon. Peace.
Yeah.